I feel like I work for the plant. I feel like I'm the hype man for cannabis. That's my role in the world. And if I can get more people excited about it and help them understand you can live this really beautiful and full life with it, that's my goal. That's my mission.
Welcome to the Well with Cannabis podcast, a show dedicated to telling the life-changing stories of those who live well with cannabis, all while teaching you how to do the same. Meet your host, Emily Kyle, a registered dietitian nutritionist turned certified holistic cannabis practitioner. Emily changed her life for the better with the help of the cannabis plant, and now she is committed to helping others do the same. Tune in each week to hear heartwarming stories and gain the knowledge you need to feel connected, inspired, and supported on your own cannabis journey. Whether you're a new cannabis consumer or a lifetime lover, you'll benefit from these uplifting tales of real-life journeys that will show you how you too can live your best life well with cannabis.
Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share a note on potentially sensitive content. The episodes on the Well with Cannabis podcast are created for adult audiences only. We will at times cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, sex, drugs, alcohol, psychedelics, and the obvious use of plant medicine. Explicit language may be used occasionally. Please refrain from watching or listening to the show if you're likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. The information on this show is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. If any of the content on this podcast has brought up anything for you, please reach out or speak to a professional or someone you trust. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast. And I am so excited to be here with Miss Kate Johnson. We have interacted a few times over the internet, but to be here in real life is super exciting. She is a certified cannabis coach and educator at yourkushcoach.com. And we're going to be talking about her journey towards becoming a cannabis coach and what that looked like. So welcome, Kate. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much, Emily. It is absolutely an honor to be here. I'm such a fan. I've been a regular newsletter reader for so long, and just really kind of seeing you develop and expand. And it's just been such a beautiful, example of what cannabis educators can do. So thank you. I'm very, very honored to be here.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited to talk about your experience coming into working with cannabis, because I find so many people that I talk to, especially here on the podcast, started with like this very professional career and really feel this desire and this drawn to be in the cannabis space, but that is a terrifying leap to make. So talk us through your journey and how you went from working in the legal profession to being a successful cannabis coach.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a cannabis user almost my entire life. So more than 25 years. I started using it when I was in high school, and I kind of never looked back. It was just it just worked so beautifully with my system. I just loved it. And, we knew a lot less about that in 1995 when I started, but I just always was drawn to it. And it was always just part of my life. I've never been without it for that whole time. But it's always been very separate from my work because I was also, in college, I was pre-med and I was a biology major and, very kind of serious and cerebral. And, while all my friends used cannabis too, it wasn't like something that you connected with your work or your future career or anything like that. I ended up going to law school and have practiced now for 15 years, just about, which was great. It was okay. It was, I loved the employers that I had. It was a wonderful workplace, but I was really out of alignment with that work, right? It just felt like it wasn't me. And no matter what I did, I just felt like it wasn't me. And I was growing kind of increasingly disconnected from it and sort of feeling, a lot of times I'd be in a meeting in kind of a dissociated state where I'm like floating above myself, watching a version of myself pretend to care about this while kind of the real me on the inside just didn't, and that's hard. And I started asking myself the question, like, how did I get here? How did I get here? Why am I in this job? Why, and it's this achievement-based society. Do as much school as you can, get the highest paying job you can, and that's success. And no one ever stops to ask you along the way, what do you like to do? What lights you up? What's your contribution to the world? Right? So, it sounds kind of simple, but for me, it was very profound and freeing to say, just because I'm capable of this complicated, difficult job doesn't mean that's what I have to do. So at that point, and that was about, a couple of years ago, and in a parallel path, the cannabis industry was sort of growing and flourishing, and I had my eye on it, and there was little, fits and starts that I wanted to get involved. But it was never quite the right thing. And I actually found cannabis educating, cannabis coaching almost on like a joking Google. A girlfriend of mine and I were on a walk, and she's like, "You would be such a great life coach. You're always lifting people up." And I was like, I need to be a life coach for weed. That's what I need to be. And so I Google like cannabis coach.
Yeah.
And I find the Cannabis Coaching Institute, which is where I got my cannabis education. It's an incredible, for anybody out there, I highly recommend checking them out. They have a cannabis coaching program and a cannabis certified cannabis educator program. And it was like everything. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. This I can do. I'm already the cannabis educator of my friends. I'm already the self-taught cannabis nerd. I'm always the one talking about terpenes, So that's kind of how it happened for me. I kept my day job while I did nights and weekends doing Cannabis Coaching Institute. I set aside a little savings fund so I could, make that leap. And I just, one day, not one day, but kind of that day came where I was like, this is the time I have to do it. So that was my journey with it.
That is an incredible journey. And I feel so many parallels with you. I feel like we've had a very similar experience, especially because just a few years ago, our culture is changing, and it really was so much easier and has continued to become so much easier to talk about cannabis publicly. At first I was scared because it wasn't normal, but now, I'll say cannabis anywhere, anytime, about anything to anyone. And I think for anybody listening, if you're wondering, if you have that pull, like we both had, to do something bigger or more, and you feel like it's in the cannabis space, my biggest suggestion always is to get started now. Don't wait, because now is the time. People are becoming so interested in cannabis and working in the cannabis industry. And I think it's a great time to make a name for yourself. So I'd love for you to walk us through, for anybody who's listening and has no clue what a cannabis coach does. Can you give us a little bit of background on what a day looks like and who you help and who could benefit from a cannabis coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So cannabis certified, there's sort of a distinction between the education between a cannabis coach and a cannabis educator. And the coaching is really meant to have a really close one-on-one relationship with the client where and I have this offering, a personal cannabis consultation, where we really talk in depth about why are you approaching cannabis? Is it a certain ailment that you're trying to address? Is it just, curiosity? More of the recreational thing. And then what have you used before? What has worked? What hasn't? And kind of trying to figure out what is going to be the best path for you and the best products and dosing and timing. And I come up with a very specific plan that we work together on to get you feeling better with the plant. And also, when I say cannabis, that can be CBD, the non-impairing version of cannabis, if that's what fits better with your lifestyle or whatever it is, or THC. And nothing wrong with THC, but there's just, a time and place for each
many
of these
other options. I always say cannabis is like that umbrella term for all of it.
Yes. Absolutely. And all different form factors. We live in this exciting time where, yes, you could smoke, you can vape, you can take an edible, you could have a patch, you can drink a seltzer. There's all sorts of ways to incorporate this into your life. And that's what the coaches mainly do. Certified cannabis educators is maybe a little broader, where you're really sort of blasting out that information and education about the plant. And, I really love both of those. And it's a really fun and exciting thing to do because we're sort of creating it as we go. And the graduate cohort from the Cannabis Coaching Institute, which we stay in really close touch and have networking groups, and we have official things that CCI runs and sort of organically grown networking groups that have come out of it. They're all kind of doing something different, which is really, what they're most aligned with, right? Like some of them are, some of them are doing courses on how to make your own tinctures. Some of them are doing, more kind of integrative life coaching. Some of them are doing, there's all sorts of things people are doing. Nutrition, kind of like your specialty in creating like cannabis infused dinner experiences. So there's a lot you can do with it. And I think we're still sort of tapping into what all the possibilities are. But I think, one thing that really resonated for me is, the cannabis industry doesn't mean you have to own a grow or own an extraction facility or whatever it is. You can be on this more educational side. And for me, because I love the plant so much, I feel like I work for the plant. I feel like I'm the hype man for cannabis. That's my role in the world. And if I can get more people excited about it and help them understand you can live this really beautiful and full life with it, that's my goal. That's my mission.
And then it feels so aligned and you feel so fulfilled in the work that you do. I mean, when I worked as a dietitian in the hospital, I did not feel fulfilled in the work that I do. But now when I hear from people who are like, my life has been so enhanced by this plant or through your work, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel my purpose has been fulfilled too. And so 2 things I had wanted to say for the coaching aspect, anybody listening, thinking about working with a cannabis coach, I just want to say like the very best part about coaching is it's the literal opposite of our current medical system. You're working one-on-one with someone and they are making a plan that's tailored and personalized to you. And I think that is the future of medicine. And I think that is really incredible work that you're doing. So anybody who's interested in a real practitioner who cares about you as a whole, a cannabis coach might be the perfect place to get started on your journey. Now, for anybody listening, I know I have so many people listening who have that desire to start a cannabis business and are just too scared to even mention it or to say it out loud. Perhaps they don't believe in themselves or that it's a possibility for themselves. What advice do you give to them? Because I think if people could just jump over the fear, they could just get started. So what advice do you have for them on getting over that first hurdle?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I really feel that I had that fear and I had that, self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Even though I know everything about the plant, I still have imposter syndrome, right? Sometimes it's just natural. I do all the time. For every human being. Yeah, right. If you do, then everybody does, right? You're already doing it. So
I should say this is a thing about cannabis, though, is there's so much we don't know. And I'm always like, how can I be an expert on something that we don't even know? And I almost feel like that should be freeing to people in a way because cannabis is fluid and it's consistently changing and improving. And just because you don't know everything doesn't mean you can't jump in. So I'm going to let you keep going, but sorry to interrupt you, but it just, there's a lot to know.
But you know what? And I feel the same way, but I think what we know, all there is to know right now, right? All there is to know right now is what we know. And that's all we know about anything on earth. That's all medicine knows is all we know right now, right? And that's just the best of it. And you always caveat with this is the best of our knowledge. This is what we used to think. Now we're thinking this. In the future, there's still these open questions, right? That's just progress. So I think getting comfortable with that. In terms of the mindset, one thing that CCI, the Cannabis Coaching Institute, was huge on, and I think whether or not you go there is huge on, is mindset. Digging into really taking the time and space to dig into those feelings. Where is that lack of confidence coming? Where is the fear coming from? Are they, is it conditioning that you can unlearn because once it's revealed itself, you can say hey, I don't need that. That's not for me, but you need to do that inner work, and doing that inner work and that inner mindset work and that inner, really facing yourself deep down to get that confidence is critical. If you don't do that, you're going to be scared off at the first challenge, And I think it depends too. For me, I'm a planner. I'm a type A person. For me, I had to have my ducks in a row before I felt confident to do it. I've got a family, I've got kids, so it's not something I took lightly. And I'm not suggesting anyone else takes it lightly, but if you feel that call, just start taking steps. That journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So that's what I would advise is it is possible for you, and just a little consistent action each day will get you towards that. Maybe it's your little secret for now. And maybe then you tell, a couple friends, and it's this, for me, my friends were so excited for me. They understood that this was going to be something much more in alignment with me. They were happy for me. They were, proud and inspired that somebody would do this, And so I think you could be surprised about how people might react in your life when you do that.
I could not agree more. Everything you said was so spot on, but we have this fear that people are going to react a certain way. And like you said, there are a lot of people who react in a way you didn't even expect and are so happy for you and so supportive. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And even if people aren't happy and supportive, ultimately at the end of the day, it's your life. And once you find freedom, and I don't know if you see this too in being an entrepreneur and having the freedom to build a business and a life that you truly love, nothing else really matters. You can let those people go and you can just be so happy with yourself and what you're doing. You don't need to worry about the rest.
Yeah. And, you know, when I was an attorney, I saw so many examples of people, and I worked in big organizations. So I was an in-house counsel working in a huge organization. So I saw a lot of kind of career corporate people who just seemed so unhappy, but yet they had built this infrastructure. They get this paycheck. And so now they've got the cabin, now they've got the boat, and they feel so trapped that they cannot make a change. And to me, that was just such a cautionary tale. It's like, that's the person we think is successful, but on the inside, you could tell they weren't bringing their whole selves to work. I don't know what they liked, but it wasn't that job in compliance or whatever, accounting or whatever it is. So that's not success, right? I mean, our purpose, in my view, the way that we make the world a better place is you figure out what lights you up and you help light other people up about that. And if everyone just did that, I don't care if it's mountain biking, whatever it is, like that's what you love to do. That's going to make the world a better place. So it's really that permission. And I do think we're also in a time in the cultural, sort of space that we're in is after post-pandemic, people really saw that, hey, there are other ways to live. There are other ways to make money. We've got one life. No one knows how short it's going to be given the disaster things are. Like, let's just do this the way we want to. Yes. And that freedom to create a world that we want. So like you said, this is the perfect time to get started for anybody who wants to. There's lots and lots of ways. If the cannabis plant is calling you, you almost can't ignore it. That's why all my fellow kind of cannabis coaches, it's like, we can't not listen to this plant because we feel so strongly about it. And, for me, I just, maybe it's a good time to kind of mention, for me, what the cannabis plant does is it's about connection. It's about my ability to connect with somebody else. When I use it, I can connect with my authentic self. Much more clearly. And I can see the other person and their authenticity. And I can see the connection of all of nature. And I can see, it's that feeling of true connection. And I think a lot of people are yearning for that right now. Yeah. And that's the message that I want to get out is this can help you do that. Cannabis helps you check in, not check out. And if that's what you are looking for, this is a beautiful plan. And there's people like me and you to help you understand how to use it. If you don't know how, the educators and the coaches are here to help you. How? I'll tell you exactly how much of an edible to take, what the timing is. We'll help you through this so that you don't have bad experiences. You jump right over the line to the good experiences.
I have goosebumps because when I've been recording these interviews, the message is always the same. And I feel like we don't always say it, but cannabis brings you to yourself. It introduces you to your highest self in the best way possible. And just to hear everybody say that in their own way, but tie together this common theme, I think is one of the most magical, untold benefits of this plant. A lot of people are coming for anxiety relief or pain relief, but proper cannabis use is so much more than that. It can enrich and enhance the quality of your life so much more than that. And so I feel like when people like me and you see that, then we're like, oh my gosh, I have to tell other people that. And that's where it kind of snowballs in. And that's where becoming a cannabis coach could really fulfill that desire for a lot of people listening, because if you have that burning flame inside, you have to chase it. As someone who's been in business I've been in business for 8 years now. My business looks extremely different today than it did when you started. And I always keep telling myself, I'm going to have to run this business probably for like another 30 or 40 years. It's going to look different then. And I want people to know when they're getting started, it's not perfect when you start. It doesn't even have to be a thing when you start. It's just like you said, that those little steps that lead to the journey, but you can't wait for things to be perfect. You can't wait for the right time. If you just have that inner calling, I want you to listen to it and follow it and not worry about the rest, because your journey is going to evolve and blossom in a really beautiful way. And it might take you down a path you never thought you would be down. But at the end of the day, both of us are sitting here, successful cannabis entrepreneurs, showing people that it's absolutely possible. And while it might not happen overnight, through patience and persistence, it's absolutely possible for so many people.
Yes. And your career is a great example of that, because you didn't start with what it is right now. Yes. Slowly but surely you've added on, recipes. Yes. And then it was this, community, and maybe I'm getting the order wrong, but the community and the products now, and all of these things expanded little by little, right? I couldn't start the business you run now 8 years in. You don't start that on day one. And so there's this compare and despair that we've got to get rid of, just kind of in general. And the other piece is that when you're following your heart, when you're following your alignment, and when you're genuinely excited about the doors that open because you're going in the path that you love, that's when things naturally expand and fall into place, and the right opportunities come at the right time. And I've experienced that in a way that I never did in 15 years of legal work, kind of putting on a mask every day,
Yep. I truly believe if you ask the universe for what you want, if you say it out loud and you put in those progressive steps to get there, you will absolutely get what you want. And I've actually had to learn to ask the universe for bigger things. I have things in my life that I never dreamed I would ever have. And I always attribute it to cannabis, because if I didn't have cannabis, I wouldn't be me, and my journey wouldn't be where it is today. And so now I have this business that I'm also thankful for cannabis. But for so many people, think that cannabis, is a hindrance or will prevent you from excelling in your career. But my career now is on steroids compared to what it ever could have been if I never had introduced cannabis. And I don't know if you experienced this, but as a professional, when I was a registered dietitian, I thought my license would be at stake if I talked about cannabis. I thought I'd never get another job in a hospital again when I talked about cannabis. Did you feel the same as an attorney? Like, I thought my whole tribe would turn their backs on me, and it didn't happen that way.
I definitely felt that. I think, particularly at the beginning, right? I mean, now it's just,
whatever.
Legal for medical use in 40-ish states, legal for adult use in 20-ish states. It's really, coming into the consciousness a lot more, but for sure, for a long time, I didn't. And actually, I had to have a very uncomfortable conversation with the general counsel, who's kind of the top legal job at my last job, because I had founded this Cannabis Industry Association of Wisconsin, which was sort of this, advocacy group for cannabis, entrepreneurs in the state. And I had to disclose it because I was a certain level of employee, and it was a certain, I held an outside board position or whatever it was, some technical thing. So I had to be like, I'm doing this on the side. She actually, this was about maybe 5 years ago. She was great. She was like, I want people to do what they believe in. I want people to be supportive, supported and feel like they can speak their minds. Not everybody's like that. So I definitely felt that. And the stigma still, it's so funny when people say the stigma still exists, because I've been using it my whole life, because the majority of my friends use it. We've never had that stigma. It's just part of life. Excuse me. But it does exist. And people do think that you're, that stoner on the couch sort of myth. And part of what my message is I have lived a conventionally successful life this entire time using cannabis regularly, right? I have graduated from a top law school. I have children. I have a house. I have a spouse. My life has not fallen apart. But it's quite the opposite. Yes. My life has been helped and created and aided. My connection with my spouse and my friends and with my children is aided by cannabis. It's not hindered by it. We haven't gotten into, cannabis and parenting, but that's a big thing too, is sort of, especially with mothers sort of coming out of the cannabis closet, because a lot of people have this misconception. You take it and then you're just passed out on the couch. That's not even close. When I take it, I have the most beautiful connection with my children. I can see kind of right into their little souls. I am so much more patient. I feel the world through their eyes in a way that, that really helps me be present and have fun and be relaxed with them. And for a lot of people and a lot of moms, it's wine, and they don't even like how it makes them feel, but it's kind of all that's available. And that's part of the message. She was like, there's this other option but I know you have responsibilities. I know you can't afford to be checked out on the couch when you have kid responsibilities. Let me help you get the right amount, the right type, the right everything for you to nicely and supportively incorporate it in a positive way.
Everything that you just said is just everything that I want to represent this podcast, and everybody who's so successful who uses cannabis is, I'm successful because I'm using cannabis. I have achieved all of these things because I'm using cannabis. Had I have not used cannabis, the outcome would have been different. And I am breaking every social stigma. You are breaking every social stigma by coming out and saying that. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much, because that's the core message that I'm trying to amplify into the world is, whoa, whoever lied to you and told you that this was going to hinder your life, with the work and help of a cannabis coach, this can actually enhance the quality of your life, the productivity of your life, and the enjoyment of your life. And that is what I want people to take away from this is you can make life better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think where we fit in too is getting that message out, and here, let me help you how to use it. That's what your, site does and recipes do in the community and all that. And that's what the other service I have is called Dispensary Decoder. And it's a little quicker service, which is to say, when you're going into the dispensary, here's the words based on what I know that you want out of it, based on our little conversation, here's the words to look for. Here's the words to avoid. Here's the doses I would recommend. So when you go in, you feel empowered, because imagine, I always think about imagine walking into a liquor store, not knowing and just being like, what's bourbon, right? You have no idea,
and you're scared.
So that's what a lot of people feel. They get the first half of the message was, I'm ready to try it. I believe you, but I'm really scared about going in because I'm afraid I'm going to walk out with a bad thing. I'm afraid I'm going to look dumb, not knowing the right words to say to the bud tender. And, I don't, my friend had a horrible experience with edibles and got way too high, and it's not for me. So again, I'm trying to help, navigate you to what will work for the purpose that we're talking about. And there are people out there. That's what cannabis coaches and educators do in part, is to really help. And that's what my goal is practical advice to help you use it and to make you feel confident that you can get what you want, the results that you want.
It's just such a needed service. Please. So tell me more about yourcushcoach.com, your business, so anybody listening can find you and get what they need.
Yeah. So thank you. It's yourcushcoach.com. And right now I'm offering the dispensary decoder is like a 30-minute quick consultation when you just want to go in and have those words, right? And have
confidence.
Sativa indica hybrid is a good example of this, right? Where I'm explaining to you, that's what the words you're going to see. It's not an exact science. It's not perfect. Here's what it's meant to mean. You might still have such and such experience, but these are the words to look for. That type of knowledge is power. So there's that dispensary decoder service. There's a longer, more involved service, the personal cannabis consultation. And that's just getting that layer deeper of what, really coming up with a plan for you, a dosing, timing, product recommendations that are very specific. I also do workshops. I did a really fun workshop on 4/19 to get everyone 4/20 ready. How to love cannabis and have it love you back. That's really what I want for people. And I'm also kind of working on my blog as a place to, a place for accurate information. I think a lot of it is people are, like we've noted, it's hard to know who to trust. And there's so much information out there, and there's lots of good information and there's lots of not good information. And to your earlier point, there's lots we don't know. So it can be difficult. And I think being a source for reliable information coming from a place of, I want you to have a good experience, that's my goal. So that's how people can work with me. Go to my site. All the services are on there. And, I offer a free discovery call, of course, too, if you're not sure which service is for you. But and I'm just excited. To your point, other things can unfold, other opportunities can come up, and I'm here for the journey.
That is amazing. You have built a successful, incredible business. I'm going to leave the links for everybody to check you out. And it's just exciting to see what other people are doing and being successful and helping other people. It just feels so full circle. Cannabis continues to give and create these wonderful communities and these wonderful connections that we get to have this conversation and just spark the interest in people. I've not really had like a business focused podcast here. So if anybody's listening, if you kind of like this topic and are interested in learning more about how to build a cannabis business, let us know. know, because it's not something we've covered before, but I think it's something cool to talk about. I could talk about business all day. I could go on a tangent. It's just so exciting to have control of your own life and what you're doing and what you're putting out into the world, and feel satisfaction in the work that you're doing. And I can see the pride that you have for your business. I'm so proud and happy for you. People want to connect on social media. Are you on social as well?
I am. I'm probably not as good about it as I should be. On Instagram, I'm at yourcushcoach_. I am probably a little more sporadic than I should be. I need to be a little bit more disciplined in it. But what I find is that it starts to suck up my time, and I take a step back, and then I'm back on, and I take a step back.
We can have a whole
relate to that
business podcast just about that in and of itself. You know me, I'm not active on Instagram anymore either, but I will put the website, Instagram, however people want to contact you. Yes. Any last words of wisdom for someone who's thinking about becoming a cannabis coach?
You know, I think, like we've said, listen to your heart, listen to that spark inside, carve out some time in your day, in your life to be still, to breathe in, to journal, whatever your process is, to really connect with, is this something my heart is calling me to do? And I can do it. How could I take that first step? What would the next step be? You know, what's the big vision, and how do I break it down into smaller little steps to get there? Sometimes the big vision feels very big and scary and hard to get to, but what's the first step, and what's the next, and what's the next? And feel into it, and just trust yourself that if you're feeling this pull, there's a good reason for it, and that pull's not going to go away. You know, I felt that pull for so long, and it was just until the right kind of fit for me came in, which was education and coaching. You know, I didn't quite know, but if you've got the pull, start looking around and trust yourself that you can do it, and make a plan and do it.
That is the best advice. Now, before I let you go, I ask all my guests the same 4 questions. Are you ready for them?
I am.
Perfect. So the first one, what are you most proud of in your life to date?
You know, I think it is a lot of what we focus on, which is having the courage to make a huge change in my life in the pursuit of happiness. Towards the end of my really feeling burned out as a lawyer, I saw this quote. It's like an ancient Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu. He's got a lot of, very wise quotes. If you do not change direction, you may end up where you're heading. And I was like, whoo, okay. So if I stay a stressed out lawyer in a stressed out lawyer job, I'm going to be a stressed out lawyer my whole life. Right. And that one just hit me. I was like, I need to change direction. That's it. This guy knew this, 10,000 years ago, whenever he made the quote. Things have not changed. So I'm proud that I, again, over time, but had the courage to do that.
I'm proud of you too. That's amazing.
Thank you.
This is everybody's least favorite question. What do you think your life would look like without cannabis?
I think I would probably be drinking a lot more than I want. I'd be drinking a lot more alcohol than I want, which is a situation I see a lot of my friends in. Even though they know it makes them feel yucky and they don't like it, they're kind of stuck in this cycle. And I grew up in a household, I was raised by alcoholics, and it was a horrible, horrible, horrible childhood and horrible, chaotic experience. And I really promised myself forever ago, I was not going to do that. But I think, 1, it's easy to repeat cycles that you're raised in. And 2, when people feel like there's no other option, for relaxation, listen, we all need to wind down at the end of the day. Can we all just admit that and get that guilt off of our chest? It's like, life is hard out there for everybody. Everybody needs to unwind in whatever way they want at the end of the day. If I don't want that to be a lot of alcohol. That's, and then I think it leads to a lot of problems. So I think I'm really thankful for cannabis for that. And I also just think the connection, like we've talked about, to really myself, to really checking in with myself and feeling that. Without cannabis is my number one tool to feel that alignment and that deep soul connection to myself and others. So I can't imagine being without that. It would be not as fulfilling of a life.
Absolutely. If you could go back 10, 20, or 30 years ago and just whisper a little piece of advice related to cannabis, what would it be?
So I love this. There's a beautiful quote from Rumi. I love these 2 quotes. I had to bring them up. You wander from room to room, hunting for the diamond necklace that is already around your neck. So we all have inherent worth. We all have our gifts, right? And so when somebody makes you feel like you're not good enough or they cut you down, you start looking for external validation. You start looking for, what will people think I'm good for? That was my story, right? But what I had on the inside is really what counts. And so everyone has that. Don't look outside for it. Look inside for it, and you will find it. And go for it. Just go for it courageously.
That's beautiful. Last thing, if you could be remembered for just one thing in the cannabis space, what would it be?
Getting people excited. I want to be somebody who uplifts, and I can't help myself. I love this plant. I'm excited about it, and I want to get other people excited about it. So just a feeling of being uplifted and excited by my experience and being encouraged and all of that. I mean, hopefully, what I really love to do is encourage people in whatever they want to do in their careers or whatever. If it's what they actually want, I'm always here to support and give people grace and all that. So that's what I hope. I hope the thing about how people may not remember what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm going for.
Well, I felt it today. You have uplifted, you have energized, and I'm excited. I thank you so much for coming, sharing your wisdom, offering all that you have learned and all of the benefits of the plant and how it has touched your life. I'm so glad we have connected. I look forward to staying in touch in the future. And thank you for doing this with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I love it so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Congratulations. You've finished another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast and are one step closer to discovering how you too can live well with cannabis. Thank you for listening in today. We hope this episode has been a helpful and informative one. Please visit EmilyKyleNutrition.com for more information on today's show notes, guest information, recipes, and other resources. If you want more support and encouragement on your cannabis journey, please consider joining the private Well with Cannabis community. In this group, you can connect with like-minded individuals focused on improving their health and wellness through cannabis. Join the group today to continue your journey of wellness together at EmilyKyleNutrition.com.